Some of us are out here trying to make homes in lions' dens and calling that building community. And then we have the audacity to be shook when we get bitten or maimed. You might have been thrown in a lion's den at birth or just happened to walk up on it one day and were lured inside because we know that predators know how to find their prey. Once you get inside, your body might have known that you were in danger, so you try a series of tricks to make yourself unappetizing. You might have smeared shit all over yourself, or maybe you went the practical route and put up these high barriers to contain yourself and be safe, right? What others might call boundaries. But you realize there in that space, nothing that you do will make the lion stop being a lion. Nothing you do will stop you from being prey. On the other hand, the worst option, some of us might have even not been able to recognize the danger in our bodies. We're so used to ignoring that. So we sat among the lions in the open, and we might have knowingly or unknowingly offered our bodies up for feeding. And then we tried to write a restorative justice agreement with the lion while it's chewing on our arms. And you think that by showing the lion some goodness and some grace, that it won't desire the taste of your flesh anymore, but that actually requires you to forget that the lion is already eating you. In both of these cases, it seems that we forget somewhere along the way while we're trapped in that lion's den. We see the world as just that space, that it actually wasn't our responsibility to feed the lion in the first place. It was our responsibility to avoid being prey. Perhaps somewhere along the way, being in that space, we forgot that all we have to do to be safe is to leave the lion's den. Now, this is a silly metaphor, but I wanted to say this today because I think it's important for us to recognize that there is a difference between doing what is reasonable and acceptable in our lives and in our hearts to make them welcoming spaces for people to invite love in. There's a difference between doing that and trying to fix ourselves or others to keep them around because we might have forgotten that there's a world outside the lion's den. We might have grown up to believe that it's our job to change the lion. Some of us might even believe that we are called to be the circus leader, called to tame the lion. But baby, let me tell you this. You might have been called to be a healer, but I guarantee you weren't put on this earth to be a savior. You might have been called to be a warrior, but I can assure you that you weren't called to be a martyr or a sacrifice. So much of what dictates how we move in relationships, particularly if we have histories of trauma and oppression, is a fear of death, these fears of abandonment and fears of rejection. And I sum all of these fears up as scarcity-based fears. If your life is rooted in these fears, you always feel like there's never enough. There never seems to be enough life, love, happiness, or intimate connection. But part of the reason that feels that way is because we tend to reserve the connection and the other needs that we have for romantic relationships. We often deny ourselves the ease of community because of how love and life has been distorted under white supremacist, anti-black capitalism. We take up codependency. To make up for this, we take up avoidance. We might take up other tactics of control because we fear what will happen when we live authentically. We fear what will happen when we leave the world that we've known. We leave that lion's den. I believe that it's time for us to stop trying to force community through these tactics of control like codependency and avoidance, tactics of control like self-abandonment, people pleasing, quote unquote. It's time to leave the lion's den with whatever we got left and find our easeful communities to build the world we want to live in safely. But in order to do that, we must know who we are and we must know what we value. If you would like to learn more about how to build connection without fear and control, you are welcome to join me in an interactive workshop on Zoom on March 8th. The sign up details will be in the caption.